Holmes.
Forget it.
Okay.
Well, thank you. I'm getting a chance to say a few words. Thanks for the wonderful meal. Do you call it dinner or lunch here?
Yeah, lunch.
The farmers call it dinner, right? Yeah, I call it lunch too. But you know what? Thank you very much. And so this facility, this center is such a great place. I've been coming and going to Brattleboro for years, and it's always been a port in the storm for me. Where's Mary Copans? Is she still here? She left? Well, I was just going to express how blue I am that her son, who's worked with me from when John, who a lot of you know, John Copans, Mary's son, but he worked with us in my office from the first day that I got elected to Congress, and was a tremendous person in our office. And he's got a new job in Montpelier, which makes it easy for him to juggle the responsibilities of work and 3 kids. And you remember that, it ain't easy. So I'm happy for John, but sad not to have him here. And Mary, when she came up, was a little blue too, because every time I came to Brattleboro, John was able to sneak in a visit to home, see his parents on the clock, and that was a pretty good deal. But you know, one of the things, you guys know this, but to have A, meals and nourishment, but B, have some company and have an opportunity to get together and to talk, it's tough in life because all of us a lot of times feel a little isolated. We're not around people. I'm lucky in a way that I have a job where I'm constantly in contact with a lot of really wonderful people. But one of the challenges in any community is to keep those community relationships up. And what better way to maintain contact with people and to feel good about yourself than to share a meal with friends and neighbors that you get to know better and better week in and week out, month in and month out. So I'm really quite happy about the meals programs that we have, and it's one of the reasons why Bernie, Patrick, and I are real supporters of this. There's a lot of hungry Vermonters, and there's a lot of hungry folks in Brattleboro, a lot of folks who, you know, the term is food insecure, but basically what that translates into, they're not getting enough food to stay healthy. So the meal programs are extremely important as nourishment. But you know, I think, and I'd be interested in your thoughts, I think they're really important for just staying in contact with one another. And what I noticed when I came in here is a lot of people approach me and are pretty strong when it comes to having opinions about what I'm doing, about what President Obama is doing, about what some of the Senate Republicans are doing when they send a letter to Tehran without letting the president know. So, you know, that's all staying alive. It's all staying engaged. It's like having opinions. It's expressing them. It's listening to other people. So that's tremendous. You know, one of the opinions that a lot of people have is that Congress is not getting its job done. And I'm hearing that there's some agreement on that. But Bernie and Patrick and I are doing our best. The way to try to get things done is to listen to people you disagree with and try to find some common ground and move ahead. But the big challenge we've had in this country is that things are upside down in the economy. You know, the folks at the top are doing incredibly well, getting richer and richer, and their taxes are getting lower and lower. And meanwhile, everybody who's trying to get ahead is struggling to pay their bills no matter how hard they work. So we've got to face in this country the need to have economic policies that I broadly say help the middle class, help folks who work to be able to pay their bills, get wages up so that they can pay their bills, get wages up so they can save some money for retirement. And that's got to be to supplement Social Security and Medicare. I was talking to this gentleman over here. Those are lifelines for folks as we get older. That Social Security and that Medicare, both of which we pay into, you pay into all your life. That's not like a freebie. That's something, that's an insurance program. And every time you got a paycheck, some money was taken out to go into that Social Security fund. So it's really, really important in Washington that we absolutely defend Social Security, make certain it's there for seniors, and not let that be the target of budget cutters. Medicare is the same thing. We've got to make sure that that insurance program, which is, by the way, a single-payer insurance program, is there to help us as we get older and we need health care. So it's great for me to be part of a Vermont delegation with Bernie and Patrick, where we are all on the same page on that, and where we enjoy working together to try to make certain that Vermont is going to do well. I like the job in Congress. And people kind of scratch their heads because they think that I may need a mental status exam if I like working in Congress, and I probably do. But I'll tell you why I like it. I like it because it's so great to represent Vermont. You know, Vermonters are practical, generous people, and they want to solve problems. And they support us in Congress when we try to reach out, even to people we disagree with, to say, hey, how do we fix the problem at hand? How do we find a way to take a step forward? We're willing to compromise. You know, you're willing to compromise. We can make some progress. So I work a lot with Republicans down there, and Vermonters feel that's pretty good, as long as it's in service of trying to make some progress for Vermont and make some progress for the country. So I feel pretty lucky to be representing you, and to get a warm welcome when in a nice meal when I come down to Brattleboro. But you know, you have brought to the fore that there's a lot of real challenges this country faces, and we've got work to do. And my goal is to make Congress do a better job, because we've got to pass policies that help communities and help you back home be more successful in your work. And that includes trying to make sure we've got solid funding for the Older Americans Act, and to help not just this meals program, but all around the state and all around the country. So thanks so much for letting me be part of your gathering, and I'm glad to stop here and open it up for questions, but some people who may want to disguise a statement as a question, I'm willing to hear that as well. So let me stop there. If anybody has any questions or comments, I'm looking forward to hearing them. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
When are you going to run for vice president?
When am I going to run for vice president? When hell freezes over. What? Well, let's keep an eye on Bernie. We're waiting to see what he's doing, but I like my job. We'll keep an eye and ear open for when Bernie makes his own announcement about the decision he's considering.
I think we all like what you're doing in the Congress anyway.
Well, I'd give you the mic to say that again, you know. I hear a lot of people who, you know, don't necessarily agree, but I like what you said. Thank you. Anybody else?
I heard years ago through the grapevine, but I don't believe it, that our Social Security is going broke.
No, it's not. He said Social Security is growing broke. It's not growing broke. You know, the last time, it's not going broke. And there's no reason it has to go broke. Every once in a while, we've got to make some adjustments to make certain it has a 75-year window. But you are all solid and secure in your Social Security. You know, sometimes politicians start turning that into a fear issue. And why wouldn't you worry if you're really dependent on Social Security, that monthly check that really makes a difference in your life? If some people is telling you that you may lose it, that rightly is going to make you nervous, but you're not going to lose it. And I don't want you to worry. I really don't want you to worry about that. Yes.
Would you talk a little bit about the Hunger Caucus that you're involved in?
Well, yes, I'd be happy to. You know, it's an amazing thing that's happening in this country, where we produce as much food as we do, we export as much food as we do, where we have as much wealth as we do, and the number of people, children and seniors, that are hungry is increasing. And we need, in the Hunger Caucus, it's Jim McGovern from Massachusetts, our neighbor to the south, is the leader of that and does a fantastic job. But we have a couple of objectives. One is to highlight attention that if we're the richest country in the world with a huge agricultural economy, we shouldn't have hungry people, okay? And a couple of ways to address that is funding, to get programs for kids, it used to be called food stamps, now supplemental nutrition program. So have those funds strong and solid, to have our senior meal programs strong and solid. But also, you know, we've got to look at agricultural policy and start promoting the use of healthy foods, which I know you've adopted here. But we've got these farm-to-school programs that have been great for local farmers. We've got a lot of vegetable farmers here along the Connecticut River Valley here in Windham County. We get their products right from their farm to our kids at school. That's a pretty good thing. It's nutritious, healthy food, and we've got to be eating better food. So the Hunger Caucus focus is not just on calories, but where those calories come from. The healthier our food, the healthier all of us are going to be. And we've got a challenge in this country with too much sugar, you know, too much. There's a lot of good stuff that we like to eat that's not good for us. So the Hunger Caucus is focusing on trying to make sure of two things. One, we've got the food availability for folks so they aren't hungry, and that's usually a budget fight. But number two, we really want to support good nutrition and better diets for all of us. And I appreciate the work that you're doing right here to get good, healthy food on the table for you. But thank you. Let's see if, yes, sir.
What can the federal government do more to help our towns and cities in Vermont deal with the homelessness?
The question, if you heard it, was how can the federal government help with homelessness? You know, the federal government, I think, that's where the federal government has to help with the finances of it. Because when you have homelessness, that's a local issue in the sense that that homeless person is in a community, whether it's Brattleboro or Montpelier. And that community then suddenly is faced with, what do we do about this person who's coming in here and it's 10 below outside and they need a place? Well, that's all about having some place where that homeless person can go. And that's like a shelter. And a shelter requires a physical building and it requires a staff. So there's got to be some funds that supplement what the state and the community can do. So I think the federal government's role is to help financially meet this problem that we face in the country of homelessness.
Are you aware that our homeless shelter is full, has a huge waiting list, and we have an overflow shelter?
I didn't know that, but boy, that's hard to hear. God, I didn't know that.
Overflow shelter, that we have scores of people every night sleeping on the floor of the church.
Wow, I didn't know that. That is so tough, really. Go ahead. Thank you for telling me that. I'll have to go down there and take a look. Yeah.
Churches are doing wonderful things. After Irene, one of them gave me a great big bucket of stuff to clean with, and it was mud, on the floor, and without that bucket of suds and stuff like that, I would have been...
Well, what she said is the churches are really being helpful and helped her after the flood. And you know what? It's true. Remember Irene, after Irene? When I was down on Flat Street, you got hit pretty hard here. And there were some farms up there, the Harlow farm, that got hit really hard. And I never saw communities, the whole state of Vermont, pull together in response to help everybody. And it was our churches, it was our municipal officials. A lot of our municipal officials, they just got on the phone and they knew anybody who had a backhoe or a pickup truck, front-end loader, they called them up and said, get down here and get to work, and we'll figure out how we pay for this later. And I saw so many individual Vermonters, and also people from out of state coming up here, going into basements with shovels, mucking out that horrible, awful stuff that came as a result of the flood. So I think I was certainly a proud Vermonter to see how Vermonters responded. But the work is ongoing, and you know what you said about the homeless, that is just so disturbing. And you know, this country's always done well because we've had an economy that's helped people people who work were always able to make enough money to pay their bills. What's happening now is a lot of folks who work really hard and have a couple of kids, they can't pay their bills. It's not that they're not working, it's the wages aren't keeping up with the expenses. And, you know, that's partly policies at the federal level, you know, where we lower taxes on people who got a lot of money and we raise taxes on people who don't have enough to pay their bills. And maybe it ought to be the other way around.
Are you aware that people who are unable to work, are you aware that the SSI, Supplementary Security Income, pays about $784, and the average for an efficiency one-bedroom apartment
Yeah.
is $850?
Right, he was saying social security disability is like $784, and that's less than the cost of an apartment. So obviously, if you're on social security disabilities, it's more than a tight budget. It's an inadequate budget. But you know, this really is a huge challenge for us, because you know, two things. Number one, we've got to have policies that create jobs, because a lot of people who, as I said, are working hard and they're not making enough money to pay their bills. That wasn't true when I was growing up or when you were growing up. You know, if a person, first of all, the person had a better shot at getting a job. Second, if they had a job, and it could be a blue-collar job, they got pretty good pay. They were able to set some money aside, buy a house, put their kids through school, save a little bit for retirement, take a vacation. You know, that's a modest but very honorable life with a certain element of security. Now, you know, and that oftentimes was with one person working and the other person at home really being primarily responsible for the kids. Now you've got most families, if they're lucky, they have two people. It's not a single-parent family. And they're both working and juggling work schedules with school and soccer and, you know, all those things. So anyway, it's tough. But I think dessert's about to come on, so I think that'll be the last question. And I want to say again, thanks for a warm Brattleboro welcome. I love being here with you guys. Thank you very much.